My brain's splitting off in so many different directions. My brain's splitting off in so many different. My brain's splitting off in so many different directions that no one has the answers to. My dad was a shrink. Certain things upset me. And my dad was a shrink. Certain things upset me. And my dad was a shrink. Certain things upset me. What's the furthest star, and then what's beyond the furthest star? What's the furthest star, and then what's beyond the furthest star? What's the furthest star, and then what's beyond the furthest star? Questions that no one has the answers to.
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where we talk about X-Men, X-Force, X-Factor, the new X-Men, Avengers, Hulk, She-Hulk being super horny, Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
What else have we done on this podcast? Is that everything? Feels like everything. Wolverine.
Logan podcast.
Logan stuff.
Wolverine.
Yeah. So
yeah,
we do it all.
X-Men animes.
That's in that and those things that we have talked
Generation
about.
X.
Ooh, boy, I have to put that out of my memory every once in a while. And it just comes back, and I'm like, wow.
I told you before I have the novel adaptation of that, right?
Yes. I think you threatened to me that we were going to do it on a podcast at one time. So
yeah, but for the grace of my the fact that reading a book seems like too much work for me for a podcast, or I would have stuck you with that. So you lucked out by my laziness.
Somebody on the Monster of the Week Patreon, I think, wanted us to do it was some Lovecraft book, and I was like, girl, come on.
Yes.
Like, that's 500 pages long, and we're like, come on, dude. No. Pick a short story, we might get to it.
Was it like Dream Quest or something? Was it like something
I don't remember.
Long?
Yeah, I hadn't. I remember looking it up and seeing that it was like anywhere from 300 to 500 pages, and I'm like, yeah, there's no way we're not going to do this for an hour-long podcast.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. We're in mourning on the podcast. Also, this comic is in mourning because I forgot this was in 2001 when Marvel Comics were being put out with a banner for 9/11. So every comic has this little thing at the top. Yeah, it's little twin towers with a little ribbon, and then Dupe is looking on sad.
Is that what
like
that
if
is?
You think about him.
Is he looking at the towers right now?
No. He's thinking about Edie, but isn't it funny to think of him?
Dude, no, it's not. Are you sure he's thinking about Edie? He could be thinking about the towers.
You know what we could do someday? You know that Marvel put out that comic that's about all the superheroes and supervillains, where like
Doom
Red
cries.
Skull is helping pick up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Doom cries and like Red Skull's picking up Rebel and shit.
Hilarious.
I would like to read that for some reason at some point. I am curious.
As a person that's just has never taken 9/11 seriously. I'm kidding.
Hey, when it for a little while after it happened, I did. And then at some point I was like, I can't grant primacy to this tragedy when I know there are other tragedies. I don't have the nationalism.
Yeah,
for it.
I think that's the thing is like it's a huge loss of life and a huge tragedy, but like the amount of tragedy that happens every day, especially since then, and the absolutely horrific war that we have enacted upon the world, like because of that over several administrations is like I just can't take it seriously. And I don't remember if it was you or Cole that made the how many 9/11s worth of misery is that joke. I can't remember who said that, but one of you said that on the podcast. That sounds
like a Gary joke.
Yeah. And that's always stuck in my mind because I measure stuff in 9/11s. So.
Yeah, because it's the COVID death toll, which is multiple 9/11s every day. And this idea that we're meant to care about one and not the other is silly. And then you start looking at tragedies like we literally just do. You're like, that's a tragedy, but all these, many weddings and shit that are getting bombed.
Yeah.
Have been bombed. That's real bad. So, it kind of is what it is. It's also 20 years ago. So it's got to be getting to that point now. Like if people can make jokes about Vietnam,
absolutely.
People do.
Yeah.
Like we got to be getting pretty close to where it's just absolutely kosher.
Also, I don't have like any definitive proof of this, but I feel like 9/11
it was a hoax.
I feel like 9/11 never actually happened, and I think that
no, I don't have any definitive proof,
and I think that the Holocaust wasn't real. So if you want to,
so I've been watching some bad YouTubes. And I got some theories to discuss.
No, I think 9/11 ruined country music. Like,
oh, sure.
I think that most of like because I grew up listening to country music. Like I like country music in general, but like a lot of the modern stuff is real like, you know, there was that one like we're gonna put a boot up your ass, you know, or whatever. But like everything since then has been so like nationalistic and terrible. Like it's just not even good country music anymore. I was in the grocery store. And this song came on, and I'd never heard it before. And the guy, it's this country song, and he says like, "I'm not a political man," and then he says, "I couldn't even tell you the difference between Iraq and Iran." And I'm like, "Hold up, then why are you talking about it, my dude?"
Yeah. The disclaimers at the front of this are really not helping. Okay,
yeah, what is the end of this? But here I am, elected president. Now I don't understand. Like, what's the next verse? But yeah, 9/11 ruined country music is my soapbox that I don't actually care about to get on. So
yeah. Anyway,
I like this cover.
The cover is Dupe crying, looking through his camera. We see a skull in the camera lens. We got a fill-in artist. This is Duncan Fegredo, who is an artist who I knew from doing Hellboy stuff. After Mike Mignola stopped wanting to draw Hellboy and just write it, largely. This was one of his stable of artists. So I've seen a bunch of Fegredo stuff through Hellboy.
Yep. And this is good. Like, this isn't terrible for a stand-in artist for one issue. Like, it could be a lot worse, as we have seen in the past.
Yeah.
So,
it's a little bit of a bummer that it's the last issue of this and it's not the on-brand art.
Yeah.
There are a couple of panels where people's faces look a little like busy and cranky, you know, but in general, it's pretty good. And this is all Fallout from this. We literally start out, you know, the same thing Edie was fearing about becoming this merchandising thing in her death. We start out with Mr. Sensitive holding an Edie action figure, and Spike Freeman, the owner of the team, questioning the name that she had come up with, which was Ecstatics.
Yeah, and he's basically saying like, hey, like all of the, you know, we've already made these decisions. Like I've talked to the shareholders, like and that's a dumb name anyway. So this is all done. You can't do anything about it. And outside of their headquarters are like a vigil and just like people wearing You Go Girl shirts and like news reporters commenting on it. And like, it seems like it should be a little bit more respectful than it is, right? Like it seems like way more of a commercialized like party than it is like an actual like group of people mourning for the death of a hero.
Yeah. One of the things I love is that we never actually find out what the name was that Spike had, but I think it's X-Storm based on the name of the issue.
They specifically say X-Storm in here, don't they?
Oh, do they? I thought it was just the title.
No. They say it. They in some point of the dialogue, they say it.
I also really like, she's saying like there are rumors about You Go Girl dying. They don't know, but they have confirmed that Spike died. Spike didn't live long enough to capture a nation's imagination. An obituary can be found from him at xforce.com/deceased.
Love it, dude. I love it.
Very
you
funny.
guys, it's too much work for what Everything to Guppy is, but you guys should put an everythingtoguppy.cat/deceased page up for all the characters that you guys have done.
In the arms of an angel. Yeah. We go back in and Spike is telling Mr. Sensitive, like, don't tell anybody that he died. Like, we want to build this up to suspense, you know, and the anarchist is calling him out. Like, you know, why are you being a shit? You know, like, are you trying to be the Antichrist? And he's like, we have enemies, you know, like X-Men, X-Factor, Fantastic Four, you know, this is a competitive marketplace. Like, we're competing with them. You know, we have to build up this hype. And Mr. Sensitive doesn't want to do it. You know, he's like, I don't want to lie. You don't have to lie. Just say no comment. And this is where Tyke starts saying like, man, you know, tell him to go to hell or talk to me or hit me or yell at me, like do something, you know, like Tyke's being a good friend and also wants to be punished.
Yeah.
Here.
He's being a good friend because he's trying, but also like not actually recognizing what Guy really needs right now.
What he needs.
Like,
yeah.
And just
he's trying.
He's trying to put his own shit onto Guy, I think, a little bit. And Spike is yelling at him from behind this and being like, hey, this is an order. Like, you were going to be in trouble if you start telling everybody that Edie's dead. And Guy is like, man, I am about to fuck you up. You need to back the fuck up.
You are so close to having your neck fucking broke.
Yeah, I'm a mutant and you're a CEO. So like, let's chill.
You gotta go, tech boy. We cut over to Miles and Billy Bob, who had just had sex. in Miles' cool bedroom, huge bedroom envy of this like awesome TV. Look at this TV. See this fucking TV? Look at that little console next to it. What is that little like?
Those are
PlayStation
speakers,
9.
Right? There's got to be
I guess that could be speakers.
Two speakers on each side.
I guess that's
but, like,
speakers.
they reminded me of like that did they just put two like outdoor rock speakers that you would get from the Airplane magazine next to the TV and wire them all together.
It's well, the TV itself looks tight as hell, but then they do look like airport rock speakers.
I also love the fact that there's a big painting of somebody. I don't recognize that face, and then a smaller version of the same picture.
Kafka, I think.
Oh, is that Kafka? Jesus Christ. Okay.
I think it's Kafka.
Not one but two pictures of Kafka.
Yeah, Kafka, and then I think that's Kafka. Kafka and smaller Kafka. Like it's don't transform me or my son into a cockroach again.
Boys tell you they know a place and take you to a room with two Kafka pictures on the wall and rock speakers on the ground.
Male living spaces. .text. So they just had sex, and like Billy Bob's like, I can't believe it happened. And Miles thinks he's talking about the bone down they just did. He's like, yeah, I know how you feel. Like it felt unnatural, but I'm trying not to analyze it. And he says, no, actually, I'm talking about Eddie. Like I can't get my head around her dying. Like it makes me feel mortal. And they kind of had this little mourning moment, where Miles like, well, the Greeks would have said she had a good death. She was in her prime. She was doing what she did best, and she was in love. Which is kind of the best that we can hope for.
Yeah.
Somebody shoot me while I'm laughing. They turn on this awesome TV, and they see Guy Smith, breaking the rules. They ask him for a comment, and he immediately says, "Yeah, I can give you news. Eddie Sawyer is dead. Eddie Sawyer is just dead." Freaking out Spike Freeman.
Yeah, and he's watching this along with Tyke and Dead Girl, who are extremely cozy on the couch. Like they look like they've just been getting like drinking and snacking their way through the day. Basically, just mourning their friend, right? Like just like drinking away the pain. And he suggests like, hey, let's go out and get into some like random trouble. And he's like, fuck yeah, let's do it. And they leaving Spike to just look at the news as everybody confirms that Edie is dead, which of course causes this kind of backlash on Edie's family as the press races around this like poor woman's house to try to get comments and things, and she didn't even know that Edie was dead yet, which is a bummer which is a serious bummer, and something that I kind of like. Obviously, I don't like it, but it's like I'm glad that they talk about it in the issue, right? Like it's just huge. Like nobody thought about this woman's family at all. They were all internalizing their own shit about it.
Yeah, I mean, they're really self-absorbed. Mm-hmm. That's celebrity for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Even the most sensitive among them is not like he thinks about it, but it's an afterthought. Like he thinks about it later. We're introduced to a kind of a major character for the next few arcs here, who kind of shelters her and brings her in and offers to be her lawyer. This is Solomon O'Sullivan here, and he basically makes the case like, you're saying you don't want to make a profit off of Edie's death. Like X-Force isn't going to do that. They're going to hound you. They haven't reached out to you. You're going to need to be taken care of, and I can help you with that.
Yeah. And it has the feel of like greasy lawyer stick, right? Like, I mean,
yeah,
this is this is Saul Goodman or Jimmy. I can't remember his actually real name now, but this is Saul Goodman kind of written all over it. This is the skeevy lawyer guy, and I love his thing. Like, I'm Solomon O'Sullivan, 50% Jewish, 50% Irish, 100% behind you. Like,
yeah, it's very very Saul Goodman.
Yeah. This dude just feels like he would fit right in with the just terrible Louisiana advertising lawyers who like rap songs
like
out of the
ambulance chaser
kind of bullshit guys. And it's weird because when I was reading this, I didn't recognize him. Like the art is just different enough that I didn't realize he was the same character that we're going to see in Ecstatics 1 and 2. So I was very confused who this person was to begin with.
Yeah, he's a little off model.
Yeah.
He ends up surprisingly being a pretty important character as we go on. Dead Girl and the anarchists get let out of jail with no charges. They have to make a donation. And Mr. Sensitive is watching it on the X-Force couch here, saying like, they're trying to be the new golden couple. You should spin with that. Spike is like, I told you not to tell them. Like, I asked you not to tell them. He says, Mr. Sensitive fires back. Like, what are you going to do? Dock me a week's pay? Like, it's not like you have any power over me. And he says, well, yeah, I can still leak your name. those pharmaceutical companies, that's still like a sword of Damocles hanging over your neck. Guy brushes it off. He's drunk as well. And they're going to go to the farm. He's like, clean up. We're going to go visiting the farm teams to look for a replacement.
Yeah.
Here. And I love the farm leagues. Every time they show this, I'm way into it.
Oh yeah, dude. I could like a whole animated series that was just like getting into like the weird politics and crazy superheroes that all kill one another through this. Like, this is so fucking good, dude.
Mm-hmm. Like, we have a little Ant-Man guy. Not Ant-Man like Hank Pym, but a man who is an ant.
Yeah.
Versus a gigantic guy who's a tree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Versus Dark Souls 3 lore is what he's fighting there.
Yeah. I love these commentators too on the TV where like, they're out in the Mojave Desert is where they do this. And, there's a human guy who's saying like, oh, you're blessed to be shown part of this process. And would you like to, introduce yourself, my co-host? And this guy pops up and he says, I am Arlo Summers, also known as Antimatter. And I operate out of the greatest city in the world, also known as New York. And it's a skull in a jar.
It's so good, man.
Antimatter's only appearance is this panel.
I love DJ Antimatter though, man. It's so fucking hilarious.
Like, also known as.
Yeah. And our team is there, and everybody's looking a little worse for wear. So like, Tyke and Dead Girl just got out of jail, and they're looking pretty hungover. Guy is looking pretty hungover, and really like, and the other two, Vivisector and Fat, are just kind of bored with the whole process, especially when they get splashed by Washout, a chronic child bedwetter who one fine day managed to harness the power of his nocturnal outpourings and use them against the tyrannical polygamous sect in which he was raised. Oh, that's a lot to absorb.
Are you ready to have your mind blown, Jeremy?
Please.
I've been saving a fact of the show for you.
Okay.
So Frank Thierry, who is a bad writer, who is active at this time, he's not the worst writer in the world, but he's pretty bad, was doing a series that went along with this called Weapon X. That was about Sabretooth.
Okay.
Like leading a team of old Weapon X people. That actually has a crossover with Ecstatics, like briefly, where the Ecstatics people are doing a parade, and they have to stop it. But he saw this Washout character and made him a character in that book. Washout is a relatively major character in the Weapon X book that was happening at the same time. Are you serious? Yeah, dude. He, like, this guy, this chronic bedwetter who like used his pissing at night powers to fight a polyamorous sect. Like, Frank Thierry is like, yep, that's my dude. He joins that team. Like, look it up. It's fucking wild.
That is fucking crazy. We're gonna have to cover some of that at some point, or I'll just have to read it. It's probably
no. I mean, I read it. It's pretty bad, but it's. I'm sure we can make fun of it. Like, we would make hay.
So after Washout like drenches them, they're basically just going through the list of they talk about Sycamore, who's the Dark Souls 3 lore guy because he's he's a tree with brains. And I love Vivisector's dumb joke here. If I hear his bark is worse than his bark, which I think is very funny. But of course, nobody's really laughing here or anything. So
yeah. Tyke says like, "Is that funny, Guy?" And then Guy brushes it off, and Dead Girl says like, "Give him some time, Tyke." And Tyke is again trying to get his goat. Like, well, where's this Venus de Milo character? Like, she's teleporting and she's cute. Maybe you won't even miss Edie. Trying to get him into a rage.
Yeah.
He says, we'll check out Venus de Milo later. And then here comes Solomon O'Sullivan, who is offering to represent them at first, saying that he represents her. And he says, like, the reason why you should let me represent you is I understand you. And he reveals that he's a mutant. Since he was a kid, every day he gets this like writing that appears on his skin. Sometimes just random words or little messages. He peels them off and saves them up. He doesn't know what it's going to be. Like, he says, what is this? The, Occult Signs, the great Jewish Irish novel? I don't know. Really weird and creepy mutant power.
Dude,
and he hands Tyke a card, which is on his skin. It's disgusting.
So fucking strange, man. Like, this came out of nowhere. Like, I just, like, because in the next two issues, I think of Ecstatics, like the first two issues of that where he shows up, none of this appears. So like having this happen, I was like, what in the fuck is going on? Who is this guy?
Yeah. So the press go as they're leaving, And the press contact Billy Bob here, and they're like, there's rumors that you and Miles are more than friends. And he flips out. What are you implying? Like, is what the gay press says. He's like, the gay press, I don't give a damn about the gay press. You're trying to diss me. I think that's super scary in terms of body horror.
Absolutely.
With the tendrils on his face.
Yeah, those tendrils are a nightmare, dude. I just can't imagine looking that straight in the face. Yeah,
it's scary. But he's even though he had this plan with Miles to pretend to be gay, and then they actually had sex. Now he's having this freak out.
Yeah.
And Miles doesn't care for this. So it's kind of setting up this drama in the team.
And before we leave this whole situation, we just need to remark that Tyke, aka the Anarchist, is wearing a bright purple furry robe around his on top of his uniform the entire time.
Hell yeah,
dude! He just doesn't not give a fuck, man. I love it. That's something. Right
obviously inspired by Dennis Rodman, from the jump, but just super super great. I love this next bit because we go to Mr. Sensitive doing his suicide ritual, talking to this Edie action figure that's talking back to him. Mm-hmm. It's so great. Like, he's just like, what was that I said? And then the action figure's like, the meaning of life is to carve out some kind of meaning from the otherwise arbitrary universe. He's like, I can be so pompous. And the action figure's like, that's why I love you. It's so fucking dark and weird.
His little forehead tendrils also are reaching out to caress her shoulder while she's sitting in his hand, and I don't know, man, that's just
it's sure fucking weird.
I didn't realize you had that much control over those things, and now I'm a little disturbed by it, but go for it.
Yeah. Can I hang out with you that close? You have to do social distancing or else his tendrils will fucking caress you.
If my tendrils can feel
sensitive,
you are too close to ride.
Sensitive distancing. Yeah. He's about to do his little ritual, but his gun gets replaced by a plunger, and this is because of Lacuna, of course. Anytime that happens, and she shows up, and she basically says you need to stop wallowing in self-pity. Why don't you come on my show and tell your story?
Yeah, I like that Lacuna shows back up. I just like her powers a whole lot, and she keeps swapping out the gun for random shit and everything, and her powers are very cool. So
yeah. She's a great character. Mm-hmm. And he agrees to do it. It seems like something he wouldn't do, but then he does it. He takes it very seriously. He explains, then she whispered ecstatics, kind of tells the story on TV.
I guess you could say it was her dying wish. He seems really overwrought in the. And this is happening in the background on a TV while Vivisector confronts Fat about all of the homophobic stuff he got in the face of the reporter for. And Fat pushes this back and says, well, I didn't want everybody knowing about it. It's but that was the whole idea. We wanted the whole reason we started doing this. And it's but that was when we were pretending. Now that it's real, I don't want anybody to know about it, which is bizarre. It's just them both struggling with this is interesting.
Don't be anybody's secret lover.
Exactly.
Your self-esteem is too good for that. Dead Girl and Tyke are having a hard time as well, where she's accusing him of just wanting to sleep with her because of a novelty. Because he's never been with a dead girl before. And he stalks off with the business card saying maybe we do need some help. We go back to where Spike Freeman has changed his mind about the name. He wants to change it to Ecstatics because he says to Mr. Sensitive, your performance on that. Did you notice that Spike Freeman is playing a X-Force branded Game Boy Advance?
Yes, absolutely I did.
I would like that.
What would you do to get your hands on one of them bad boys, huh?
It's pretty fucking rad. Or maybe a PSP. The top of it looks like a PSP.
When it's on the
hard to tell exactly what it is.
When it's on the bottom frame, on the bottom panel.
Oh, that's definitely a Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, that's what sold it as a GBA to me. So
yeah.
I do we haven't really talked about this a lot, but Spike always dresses in X-Force clothes. He's always got a dupe shirt or dupe hat on, which I find very hilarious.
Yeah. Or the last scene he's in, he had X-Boss.
Yeah. X-Boss was really good too.
Yeah. And obviously saying that was a performance that captured the nation's heart is the worst thing you could say to Mr. Sensitive.
Yeah, because it's exactly the opposite of what Edie wanted to happen. She wanted to be fired into space so that her death wasn't commercialized, and here we are. Absolutely commercializing it.
Well, and Mr. Sensitive prides himself on authenticity. Mm-hmm. He was trying to do something non showbiz by doing this. They're kind of fighting at this point, and at one point Spike says like, "Hey, I'm part of the team now," and he says, "Prove it. Like, here's a gun. There's one bullet. Prove you're one of this. I do this every day." And he just does it without hesitating at all.
Yeah,
like just does the Russian roulette, which I love, like this kind of deranged billionaire behavior. So that he survives. He doesn't get his head blown off. Just for once, I'd like to see Russian roulette fail on a piece of fiction.
Just once. I just want to see one dude's head getting blown off. I feel like there's got to be a Wolverine comic, right? Like where it just loses, but it doesn't matter or something.
Yeah, that's a good one shot. That's a good Marvel Presents. Mm-hmm. I was thinking about, like, let's say somebody took me and put me in a basement, right? And they were forcing me to play Russian roulette. Have you ever seen a piece of media where the person who's playing Russian roulette, instead of pulling the trigger, just points the gun at the other person and pulls the trigger 6 times?
God, yeah, there was some, I can't remember. It was some like weird Mel Gibson movie, I want to say. Where he's like getting revenge for a dead girl or something, and yeah, like they make him do the Russian roulette thing, and he just like pop, and then the whole thing is empty or something. Like I have seen that. Okay. I have seen that set up. Not where somebody gets kidnapped, and not where Gary Butterfield gets kidnapped and is forced
in the basement.
Yeah.
You're actually recording with a recording of me that I did to help you find my corpse.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
It's a memento.
This is an elaborate setup. Couldn't you have just left some GPS coordinates, man? Come on.
I also could have wrote a note, but I figured this would be more fun, and my dedication to the Patreon is legendary.
I have to edit this, right? Like, come on, Jigsaw. There's just more work for me. I left you to the clues to my death in WAF number 487. Really? That's a 3-hour podcast. It was Resident Evil 4. I can't fast forward that. Jesus.
If you take every 4 words I say. Excuse me?
Jigsaw gets heavily into podcasting. God damn it. This movie is 4
Jigsaw
hours
the
long
podcaster,
ago.
Dude. Yeah, Jigsaw the podcaster's rough.
Shit.
I love the idea of the Jigsaw podcast.
Yeah,
it's like it puts you through those paces.
Today, we have 5 people. For some reason, Paul F. Tompkins hosted.
Or Paul F. Tompkins just agrees to be in it without knowing what it was. He's like, sure, I'll do it. It's a podcast. Oh, no.
That's hilarious. I love it. So they have their little weird moment with the Russian roulette. Guy calls him a freak. And then outside of their headquarters, Guy is giving a speech. Saying,
this isn't their headquarters. They're opening up a Dupe Kitty Kitty hospital.
Basically doing some PR to say, like, the team is totally okay. Like, there's no tension or infighting, and we see Solomon with Fat and Vivisector. There's no bad blood, and we see Tyke and Dead Girl. But we do have a new name, and from this moment on, the team formerly known as X-Force will only be known as, and it goes straight to the end. Maybe it's in the next issue they mention X-Storm, Gary. I know they mention it at some point, but I don't.
It's okay.
I just thought it was so dumb because Storm is such a major part of X-Men. Being like, I'm X Professor X. That is our team name.
I wonder, would it be good to do a team that's like the X Professors, where you had Professor X, but then you had everyone who had a doctorate, or everyone who taught school.
Professor X's is where I would like to see that go. Like, it's just a bunch of your ex-girlfriends who have moved on.
It's Moira McTaggart, Leandra.
Exactly, yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Magneto was there for some reason.
Yeah. Gabriel Haller.
Young Jean Grey. Oh, too much. Too far. Too far.
Whoa. Thanks everybody for listening. This is a good issue. It's mostly setting up for the next one.
Yeah.
Like, it feels to me like a little space fillery. Mm-hmm. The next issue starts things again, but then we need to have a breather to kind of set up the team being fractured so we can put it back together in the next arc.
Absolutely.
Thanks everybody for listening. We'll be back in a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
If you like the show, go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv.
Yeah. A couple of bucks a month will get you all of these episodes of the podcast early every 2 weeks, which is kind of cool. You don't have to wait like some plebe. You were able to get them before anybody else. You can also get a ton of exclusive content, and maybe access to the Slack channel, so you can come hang out with us and chit chat. If you can't do that, totally understandable. Maybe tell some of your friends about the podcast. That always helps. And follow us on social media that I definitely remember all of the handles for. DOFC Podcast, I think, on Twitter. So go follow all of that.
Yeah. As we mentioned last episode, we'll be talking about Duckstream soon, where we'll be covering New Mutants.
Yes.
So look forward to that as well. And good night.
Good night.